Hello and welcome to Breakfast for Pancakes. I'm your host, PK Sullivan. Today, I'm turning my kitchen into a lab because I'm running an experiment. Some of the recipe testing and development that I've been doing lately has me wondering, can you cook sous vide using an Instant Pot or other multi-cooker? So that's the question I'm going to be answering here today. I have an experiment set up that will test whether or not my Instant Pot can cook the same meal that my sous vide setup can. And since my initial trajectory out of high school had me going into the sciences, I'm going to lay out the entire experiment for you here. First, what's the experimental question? Well, can an Instant Pot cook sous vide without an external contraption? Next is the hypothesis, what I expect will happen, my best educated guess, and my guess is yes, it can, though I don't think it will cook sous vide as accurately or precisely as an actual sous vide setup. There may be a bit of fine tuning on the temperature controls, but I don't know, that'll be part of the experiment. Now, the actual design of the experiment. I have 2 water baths, both preheated to 150 degrees. That's the temperature I'll be cooking at today. To that, I'm going to be adding equal-sized chicken breasts that have been seasoned the same and packaged the same. Those will cook for 3 hours, after which I will remove them from the baths, shred them, and compare the final textures. The chicken breast I started with was a single enormous boneless, skinless chicken breast. It was 3 pounds. I cut that in half, trimmed off the fat, and then shaped the larger breast down to size. That gives me a 597 gram control and a 596 gram test. The control will be cooked in my regular sous vide bath. This is a recipe I've done before. I know how it turns out. This will give me my expected results. The test is going into the Instant Pot. I have not cooked sous vide in this at all ever, so it's an absolute experiment. But these two are as close as I can make them to being identical. They've been seasoned identically. 2 tablespoons of homemade taco spice with 2 tablespoons of olive oil. That rub got applied once the chicken breasts were in the bag, then I sealed them, and they have been in the fridge for the last 2 hours. Like I said, both water baths have been preheated to 150 degrees. With my sous vide setup, I'm using it as designed. There's no modification to that process. For the Instant Pot, I am using the Instant Pot Ultra settings, and I have it dialed into 150 degrees. It's been holding at 150 for about the last half hour. Nice, that's actually dead on. Lastly, in order to create as similar of an environment as possible, I do have a trivet in the Instant Pot. That's because the Instant Pot's heating element is on the bottom, and I don't want the chicken sitting directly on the metal that is being heated by that element. That will create conduction, which is not what we want. We want water-based convection. So really all that's left is to get these into the baths and see you in 3 hours. I have checked in on these from time to time. No surprise, the sous vide was holding rock steady within about a degree of my target temperature of 150 degrees. Much to my surprise, the Instant Pot actually ran hot by about 4 to 5 degrees. I didn't adjust the temperature, I left the settings as they were, but it was running higher than 150 degrees, which is not what I expected. There's also less of a temperature gradient within the Instant Pot than I expected. I expected it to be warm at the bottom and cooler at the top, as the heating element is at the bottom and it drives the heat up and dissipates. There's also less of a heat gradient in the Instant Pot. I expected it to be warmer closer to the heating element below the chicken breast and then cooler above the chicken breast as the heat energy is transferred into the meat. Apparently that is a negligible factor. With that said, I am confident that the Instant Pot has cooked the chicken fully. To what degree that the chicken is now a little overdone beyond my target expectation, I'm not sure, but I am confident that the chicken is fully cooked. So that is a good starting point. The next step is to go ahead and remove these and let them cool for about 30 minutes at room temperature. Coming out of the bath, they seem to have very similar texture when I give them a push. They're both nice and firm, but still fairly springy and bouncy. I have high hopes on this. It's been about 30 minutes. I am going to go ahead and see how everything turned out. I'm going to start with the control because that's my baseline. All right. I'm making shredded chicken tacos. Cooking a chicken breast sous vide is really the only way to get tender, moist, shreddable, and well-flavored chicken. Sous vide cooks the chicken gently to retain its moisture and won't make it tough in a few hours. It also traps seasoning in with the chicken, unlike poaching would, so there really is nothing else that makes shredded chicken this good. The liquid is a mixture of water and protein expelled from the chicken and the olive oil and spices we added to the bag. Shredding the chicken into that keeps it flavorful and moist once it's served in the tacos, even a few days later for leftovers. Now for the experiment. The test batch here shreds just as well. It's basically identical. I did find and discard a bit of connective tissue, tendons or something. Should have caught that when I was trimming, but I missed it because it was the point where the tender and the breast meet. It's hard to get in there unless you're really looking for it. Looking at these side by side, if I hadn't kept portions of the labeled bag in there, I don't know that I would be able to tell you which was which. They both have the same appearance, same texture, no difference in taste. So yes, I believe you can sous vide in an Instant Pot. This experiment shows that. Why would you? What use could this be? Sous vide is getting more and more popular, but it's still nowhere near as popular as the Instant Pot. So if you are traveling and staying at a Airbnb or something, it's more likely that the hosts will have an Instant Pot for you. If you wanted to stay in and make hollandaise, well, I've got a recipe here on how to do that in your sous vide for guaranteed results. You could do that on holiday hollandaise. If you are cooking a big meal and you need to sous vide 2 different dishes that are going to require different temperatures, you could cook those simultaneously using your Instant Pot as a second sous vide bath. If you want to try sous vide cooking but you don't want to commit to buying a whole setup of a controller and a vessel and everything that goes in with it, if you have an Instant Pot and a couple of plastic bags, Ziploc bags work just fine. You can do a couple of sous vide cooks, see how you like it, and then decide whether or not you want to invest in a full setup. The Instant Pot is a fairly small vessel. It's not going to have as much space for the food. So a couple of chicken breasts, a steak or 2 would fit in your Instant Pot. A jar for hollandaise, those sorts of small dishes would be able to sous vide just fine. I think people should give it a shot. They might be surprised with the results. I certainly am. This turned out great. I'll be doing a few more videos that are about precise temperature control using an Instant Pot here in the future. It's not what made the Instant Pot and the whole multi-cooker genre of device popular, but I think it is a real strength that could be utilized for better home cooking. Millions of people who have bought these things. If I can show people how to do wonderful, easy dishes, so much the better. I'm certainly looking forward to dinner tonight. I'm going to use the test batch because it turned out, and that's great. I'm going to freeze the control batch so that we have a quick, easy taco dinner sometime in the future. If you like what I do here and would care to support, you can do so through Patreon. The link is in the show notes. I'll see you next time.